Hello, ladies and gents, boys and girls, people of all ages, sexualities, and identities, and welcome back to another film review. And today's film review is the final in the trilogy so far. Stallone, Rambo, Last Blood. So, without further ado, let's get into the film. John is living with his sister and his niece. He's finally settled down and found himself a place in which he finds himself some purpose. However, his arrogant niece's ways begins to wake him up to an unsettling idea that he may have to bring out the big guns once again. He warns her and her friends not to stay out late, and most importantly, he warns them not to go anywhere they shouldn't. However, his niece being rebellious and her friend being a bad influence, the pair of them find themselves in Mexico. Her friend sells her off as she sells her friend off to be a whore, basically, for the Mexican cartel, just because she wants some gear. Rambo goes out in a storm looking for his niece, but when he doesn't find her, he finds himself revisiting a few shadows. And, to make it worse, when he finally finds out that his niece is in Mexico, Rambo's anger begins to boil to the boiling pot. He has an opportunity to kill her friend, but decides rather to let her suffer with the pain. Rambo then goes into the Mexican cartel's land, and basically warns them that if they want him, they know where he is. Rambo then manages to save his niece, even though it's too late for her. She's been drugged, abused, and used. Now, Rambo can't stop her from that eternal pain that she will always know has happened to her. But he does know one thing. He's ready for a fight. And so, he points out that the fact that he had overprotected their farm for years was no mere obsession. It was a purpose. His niece called him the crazy uncle for years, not realizing that her uncle, an ex-veteran, had been waiting for this day for a very long time. He had rigged the whole farm up with explosives and was prepared to kill anyone who gets in his way. Rambo goes on a massive killing spree, even to the point that he rips a guy's heart out. The overarching message in this whole last installment of the Rambo franchise, Last Blood, sees Rambo admit to the audience that he has made many mistakes, he has been through many battles, and he has so many scars. He talks in the trailer for this film about facing his own demons, and he even points out that if death comes for him, he's ready to meet it. Rambo beats the cartel and sits alone on a porch. He then looks up to the sunset and in his final words says, "I've always been looking for home, always trying to get there, but I never really did. Instead, I just found death." This is a testament to the franchise on the purpose that it does coincide with the story so far. This idea that Rambo tries to go into a town, but then tries to leave and finds himself in the face of adversity by a cop. Then Rambo finds himself in the second film, trying to serve his sentence, but then getting tricked into being a guinea pig. Then in the third film, he finds himself once again having to fight for a cause that he doesn't really need to. But he knows if he doesn't, his own conscience will never be clean. Rambo 4, he ends up saving a bunch of pilgrimage people from the onslaught of a gang in the Philippines. Every single film in this franchise has a message, and that message is not only don't judge a book by its cover, but sometimes try to understand what they're going through. In every film in this, it's always drilled into us about Rambo's past with Vietnam. Now, until the prequel comes out, we won't fully know how far Rambo went in the prequel. But we know now that Rambo has not had easy pickings, and we can kind of feel sorry for the guy throughout each film. Not only because he's just trying to live a normal and calm and quiet life, but because he really is an example of every kid out there, every person out there in the world who just tries to get on with their lives and finds themselves day upon day cast in the shadows of people who just want to test their patience. So, Rambo 5, Last Blood. What do I give it out of a total score? Well, I think before I get into the scoring, I would just like to point out a few things that I'm going to be a little bit nitty-picky with this film. Stallone bringing Rambo to the end of his story was absolutely gobsmackingly beautiful in this film. However, number one that I have a problem with in this film, Rambo pulling someone's heart out. Now, I don't deny that Rambo most probably is very strong and can do a lot of guerrilla warfare stuff and a lot of things that people most probably can't do. However, I feel like this dehumanizes him and causes a kind of controversy in this film by letting him rip that heart out of someone's chest. Not only because now you've turned someone who you were saying was just a human being who'd just been taught as a soldier, but now you're giving him superhuman strength. You might as well just make Rambo Superman. My second nitpick in this film, Rambo going into the cartel village. In previous Rambo films, and I understand what they're trying to say in this, they're trying to say he's getting on. But in previous Rambo films, and keep in mind, in Rambo 4, he's not young himself in Rambo 4 either. But if Rambo could go on a rampage in Rambo 4, I just didn't quite get in Rambo 5 why he struggles so much to go round the Mexican cartels. I mean, the guy literally goes from alley to alley. They don't find him for ages until all of a sudden Rambo makes one vital mistake in this film and goes into the centre of a square. And my last nitpick, and I really do apologise to everyone for ranting about this, but my last little nitpick. The niece's friend, I feel like Rambo lets her off a little bit too lightly in this film. I get it. He is basically just telling her to stay away from his family. However, I do feel like by doing that, he's just allowing her to keep doing it to friends of hers. I feel like he should have given her some form of punishment. And I know this may sound a little bit extreme, but come on, if you're gonna rip someone's heart out in this film, you could have at least chopped the girl's arm off as like a kind of warning from Rambo to say, look, right, no, it's just not on. But other than my little nitpicks, now that we got through all three of them, I just have got to say, I feel like this was a great send-off to Rambo. I really feel like Stallone embodies Rambo in every single film. And by the end of this, we finally get to see a tired guy. Someone who's so exhausted of fighting everyone that he just wants to spend his retirement now on this farm and letting life go. And for that reason, I give Rambo Last Blood a solid 8 out of 10. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next film review. Until then, goodbye, stay beautiful, and have an incredible night.